And welcome to Monday's Agenda. In today's program, we'll be talking about measures being taken to address cybercrime in Tanzania. My guest is an expert on cybersecurity and digital forensic, Yusuph Kileo. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Before we go into cybercrime and the acts and measures that the government has taken to address cybercrime, let's talk about cybercrime. First of all, what do we mean by cybercrime?
Actually, cybercrime, it's any offense or any crime that takes place either with the help of computer or to the computers. So all these crime or digital crimes, we categorize them as cyber crimes.
Is that limited to computers? Is it all on the whole digital platform? What about phones?
Basically, all digital platforms are included. We consider them a cyber crime. For example, someone decided to misuse mobile phones to spread any kind of issues. We still consider that as cyber crime.
So what are the crimes? What are the offenses are we talking about?
Different offense. Some people get into other people's computer or other people's devices without any acknowledgements. For example, we call it hacking. So people hacks to other people's devices. Or we do have issues like people spread some hate speech over social medias. We do have things like clickjacking currently, where people request others to click certain sort of video so that they can really take over their computers and stuff like that. So we do have a lot of things basically under this cybercrime.
And what is the state of cybercrime, on a world stage?
Actually, now it's critical, and the world now we have named it as, I think, the top 3 crime in the world. One of them is cybercrime. And we have reached to the point that people are doing what we call cyber warfare. And we have reached to a point that people steal billions of money have been stolen over cybercrime. So we do have a lot of issues on cybercrime. And that's why many countries now are working hard enough to make sure that they reach to a certain point where we can try to reduce or eliminate this type of crimes.
Perpetrators of cybercrime, who are they? Are they individuals, expert in IT, or is this an organized crime? Are they syndicates? Is it a company that is that? It's
I think we have all these stuff that we mentioned. Some individuals get into for example, people's bank accounts and steal some money. So you can find some organized crime that they do a lot of harm to other people's devices and so on. And we do have even a country-to-country fighting over cybercrime. So meaning, like, for example, one country getting into other countries' privacy and get the information, these kind of things. So we do have different groups of people on these crimes.
In Tanzania, what's the state?
In Tanzania, last 3-4 months, we had a meeting in Johannesburg. It was named as the most targeted country in Africa. It was listed as number 6. So basically, Tanzania, that's a very high number, you see. And we have seen a lot of issues in Tanzania. Mostly people stealing other people's money, this mobile money. We have a lot of cases from mobile monies. We do have cases where people hack into other people's websites, social medias, and so steal some information. We do have people get into other people's devices and do these ATM issues and all. So we do have these kind of issues here in Tanzania, but not really. We didn't reach a point where for example, a country fight to another country, or a certain country targeting Tanzania. We didn't reach to that point yet. But we do have a lot of other crimes across here, and a lot of money have been stolen via cybercrime.
Isn't there security on the digital platform that protects consumers and companies against such attacks?
Yes, we do, but they're very expensive. That's why we spoke about what we call we do have 2 types. Criminals, they have their tools and stuff that they can really get into other people's account. And then on the other hand, we do have the cybersecurity people, that they do have their tools and stuff to try to protect. But the problem here is that these criminals, their tools and stuff, they're freely available online, or they're very, you can find them sold at the very minimal rate. But when you go to the other side, these tools to protect these devices and all, they're very expensive. So you may find some organizations do not really have budget for that, and they end up being victims. And some organizations, they do have budget but don't really pay too much attention to this cybercrime. So we do have these tools, as you mentioned, but again, they're very expensive, and then we reach to a point that every single organization is part of these tools being there, but still people can really get into your system if they want to. It's a matter of time.
What can we do as consumers, users of electronic gadgets and digital on the digital platform? What can we do as practical things that we can do in order to protect ourselves against cybercrime? Actually,
we do have a lot of things that you can start from an individual level. For example, we spoke about passwords. When we talk about passwords, it's quite important to understand that we need to have not a weak password that anyone can guess or get into them easily. So we find people putting passwords, for example, their phone numbers, their names, or their father's names, or things like this. So we encourage people to work on those things carefully and make sure that they really have to put a strong password. And when I talk about strong passwords, I mean we need to have characters in place. We need to have capital letters and small letters in places. We need to have. They should be long enough.
Encrypted, so no one can.
So it's not easy to guess or to get into it. And it should also be changed after at least every 72 days maximum, or you can even below than that you can do changes. So basically this way you can at least protect yourself. But then on our systems we do have flags down there. So when that flag turns into red, meaning you need to consider there are something that the system detected that's not really right. So when you look at it and try to resolve those problems that appeared there, then you can at least get yourself secured. And other thing that I really tell people to look at is antiviruses. Not only antiviruses, but up-to-date antiviruses to their systems. Because when you put antiviruses, you extend, because their job really is to try to protect you from these viruses and any other things that may really affect your computer. So basically, if you have that in place, then you're in good shape. But again, antiviruses now are very expensive, so most of people don't really get into their systems. Or that some others, they get pirated one, which of course they increase threat to their devices.
Increased threat to the devices?
Yeah, because you're using pirated one, which is not really genuine and it's not really doing its job right. So basically, sometimes criminals fake it so that they can have access to a system. So you install that, you feel like you're installing antivirus, but sometimes it's not really doing its job right. So basically, you may end up having it, but it keep on jeopardizing your system instead of protecting it.
When you talk about passwords, I mean, my PC is not passworded, but because I'm the only person who uses it, am I vulnerable?
Of course, because it's you're using it alone. But when individuals are in need of getting into your system, it could be easy for them to get into your system. And as I've been telling people, because some people, they feel that they're no target, but each and every one of us is a target. Whether you're a senior in your office, or you're just a junior, or you're just a secretary on the door, but everyone is a target. When I say it so, because these criminals, they normally look at the weakest link. Where do they get? They can get easy access to get into some people's devices, and eventually get in a corporate network. So they look at the easiest path for them to get into. So your system doesn't have password, or whatever it is. You don't really keep password as one of the key things. and you have it, but you keep sharing it with others. So basically, someone will utilize that and get it into your system, and because you're connected to a certain network, so they may use that as a path to get into a corporate network and do harm to the targeted area that they want to target. So each and everyone should pay attention. Security starts from an individual level.
This month, the government implemented the Cybercrime Act 2015, which was the whole creation of this act. It's been sort of like under a lot of controversy. There's been a lot of concerns regarding the act. What's in your view? What's your take? Do you think this is necessary in order to address cyber security? Of course.
It's very necessary, because you see, we have 11 things to fight cybercrime in every country, or every country in the world. And among these 11 things to be in place in order to fight cybercrime, one of them is cyber law. Cyber law, if you are fighting cybercrime and you don't have law in place, it's going to be very difficult for you to fight cybercrime, because you need to have them in place, something that will help people who are fighting cybercrime to prosecute others who have been caught on doing these cybercrime activities. So law is quite important, but again, this law has to go along with 3 other things, so that this law can be very successful. And the 3 other things, one of them is awareness, because we believe in awareness in the sense that, awareness, especially in Tanzania and many other countries as well. Many people do this, they commit or they end up being victims of this cybercrime because of lack of awareness. And basically, when awareness is in place, it can reduce a very big number of this cybercrime in any country. And there is something we call capacity building. When we talk about capacity building, it's all about teaching others what to be done and not what to be done, and how to do these kind of things, how to prosecute, how to fight cybercrime. And then there is collaboration, where entities, for example, in Tanzania we have around 4 entities fighting cybercrime in a country. So basically these entities, they need to collaborate, and cybercrime is a borderless crime. So we need to collaborate as well with outsider or other countries across, beyond borders, so that we can at least meet the target of eliminating this crime. So laws and the 3 other things goes together so that we can meet the target needed.
You said that Tanzania is one of the countries that is most been targeted in Africa. Why is this? Is it because we have
election coming up? Yeah, many people have been thinking that, or some people they think because we are getting to we are oil and gases and different kind of issues. Basically, I cannot really tell why, but probably they feel like we are most vulnerable and we can easily get accessed, and they decided to target Tanzania. Or they may have different reasons. Cyber criminals, they do have different way of thinking and why do they really want to get into a certain country or a certain corporate networks. And I think this something get critical when we do have the economic is rising up, basically based on this. For example, now we have cases on oil and this and that. So basically, most of people think like we may have an easy money that you can really get from Tanzania. This might be a reason, but again, I think some other reason, probably the election, coming up election, there might be another reason. People to target the country and try to destabilize or make things worse. That's why we heard about clickjacking recently. It really hit the country, and most of the people were affected with this clickjacking.
Clickjacking? What do you mean?
I think you have seen some Facebook account where you see some people posting other videos which are not friendly, and it looks like you really want to play that. But really, they're not what you see. Once you press that, you get into you either get into zombie and start spreading those viruses across, and they may utilize that to do a lot of harm to other people. So we do have a lot, and many people have been complaining about this clickjacking into their social media. Yeah, in Tanzania.
what about stuff like malware, spyware, adware? Are those, it's annoying, but is it a criminal offense to receive, the person who's sending? Can you do something about this?
Of course, if someone sends you something, that it's a criminal offense, because once an individual does that, they want to do something into your system. That's why they do that. Whether to try to destabilize your protection, and try to install something like backdoors that they can utilize that to gain access to your system and to remain into your system.
When you talk about enforcement now, the Cybercrime Act 2015, some of the concerns has been enforcement. Now, you just explained the global and anonymity nature of the internet and the digital platform. How are you going to catch a criminal who's doing something malicious in Alaska to somebody in Dar es Salaam? First of all, how are you going to even, trace it back to where it is?
Yeah, actually, that's when I talk about collaboration. Not only collaborating internally, but also collaborating with external entities. So if you offend someone from Alaska, for example, as you mentioned, and law enforcers here will collaborate with those law enforcers from that end, and trace where you are and catch you. Something like that. It goes back to the collaborations. And we have a lot of scenarios where countries collaborate with other countries and they meet targets. For example, we do have a success story where Nigeria collaborate with Australia, and they managed to do a lot of good stuff out of it. And the last summit, IT Web Summit, we discussed about the success story of that collaborations. So basically, collaborations, as I said, it's a key to this kind of cyber law. If you want to implement this, collaboration is important based on that note. And as what you are saying, we believe in cybercrime, a borderless crime, where an individual from any country can commit crime to another country. So based on that note, we believe, and Tanzania now is collaborating a lot with the FBI and different other entities across. So if you offend someone here and you are somewhere else, you can easily get trust and get back to court.
One of the reasons for the Cybercrime Act 2015 is to address intellectual property theft on the digital platform. Again, how, first of all, there's so much stuff out there. What does this mean? Does it mean that if I download a tune or if I download a film, am I committing a crime?
It's not only in Tanzania, but everywhere it's a crime. If you're doing it, first of all, for example, in Tanzania, you have seen a president of being very, very expressing these issues very loudly, and saying that these artists, they really need to get their rights. So we believe in that when you utilize the resources digitally, you commit an offense, and you really need to pay for that.
Okay, then why not target the sites that are providing these services? I mean, I can go to a site and download a film or a music. I'm not saying that I do, but I could. And why prosecute me rather than the supplier who's put up this site for people to download stuff?
Yeah, there was a very serious operation in 2011 where FBI shut down several suppliers. They really provide these things for free. And again, a lot of people, criminals made a lot of noises back then, and they really hack into different accounts, different websites, different artists' websites and all. It was really a big fight in 2011. But this happened in the US. They shut down several things, and basically now, even when you're trying to access something from a certain site, you can find this is prohibited, or they say this site the site that you're getting into, it's blacklisted. So there are initiatives, but you cannot really, as we believe in one thing, that we cannot eliminate cybercrime completely. But there are different initiatives on protecting these intellectual properties. Yes.
Are people aware that by downloading an album or by downloading a film, they're actually committing a crime? I mean, if you go and buy, a film from, say, I don't know, whatever site it may be, Amazon, whatever, and you'd pay an odd $60 or $70 for a film, whereas if you just go on a website and download the whole thing free of charge. Now, you see, when you're talking about fighting cybercrime in developed countries, or the awareness in developed countries, in Western countries, it's a whole different. But if you're talking about developing countries where young people want access to modern things, watch the latest movie, listen to the latest films, wear the latest trends, it goes even off the digital platform, even in the fashion world. Do you really see, youth really saying, "Oh no, I'm not going to download this. I need to pay $60 in developing countries." The practicality of it that I'm talking about.
Yeah, actually, it's difficult, and it's been one of the things that we really feel like it's going to be hard to let people understand what they're doing is wrong. And now we have another issues of this social media like YouTube and stuff. People uploaded those content there, and people download from those kind of things. These are social medias where even some artists they do that. So basically, I think it's difficult to tell how quick we can eliminate the crime. But initiatives should be there, because we need to tell people, and it goes back to awareness, that people should be aware that what they're doing is quite wrong, and when you get caught, you can be answerable. So it's a matter of understanding, awareness there, and people that will understand. And what I've seen, for example, in Tanzania, some artists, they decided to release those content for free themselves. So that is another different case. If it's an offense when someone, all this crime, we believe that someone has to report first. If someone said, like, this something of mine have been downloaded, or it's been spreading all over the internet, but I really don't want it to be spread it all over the internet. This is something else. That's when someone does that, you may be answerable. But if someone don't really say that, some of them, they provide this content themselves, this is different case. So that's why it's getting difficult to take everything down, unless someone says something about it, and then measures should be taken.
One of the concerns about the Cybercrime Act 2015 is that it gives excessive powers provided to law enforcement to search, seize, disclose suspect systems, maybe computers or phones, without requirement of a court order.
No, that was not. That, I think it was an old version, and basically that was cleared, because anywhere in the world you cannot do a digital search without a warrant. A digital search should go with a warrant, just like any other search. So, and I spoke about this some times back. I said we don't really have that capability here in Tanzania to start with. And not many other countries they do have this capability. That someone can just easily do this the investigation from the very low level of these police officers. They cannot really do that. So what really happened there is that we do have a special unit in Tanzania called Cybercrime Unit. What happened is that some people with digital search warrant, they may do a collection of these devices and all, and bring that to that specific laboratory that do all these forensic investigations. And from there, that's when the things carry on. But of course, again, there should be a digital search warrant. Such warrant should be there. Who to address or who to provide that, that's a different case. It depends on, the cybercrime are vulnerables. So it depends on volatile, I mean. So it depends on who and what type of crime is being committed. So they may decide to ask, for example, from the court, a search warrant from a court, or any senior official from the law enforcement itself. They can provide this search warrant. But of course, there should be a search warrant. You cannot provide any digital search without a search warrant.
A legal review of the Cybercrime Act 2015 stipulates that it violates human rights. There are concern about violation of human rights and the right to privacy.
No, actually, if there is one thing that I can tell you, is that we as cybersecurity experts, not only in Tanzania, everywhere, we care a lot about people's privacy. And that's why we do have every January 28th of January, celebrating DPD, Data Privacy Day. The reason behind that is we value this privacy. And that's why when you get into digital forensics investigation itself, we have things like keywords. When you look into people's, you're doing some investigations, you need to have keywords. You need to have, you need to know what you really want to, what's your target, what you really want to gain out of your investigations. For example, it's a murder case, so you need to have a clue related to murder, not other people's individuals' thing that really happened to it. Between through their devices. So basically, we really consider privacy as one of the very key things. And when I talked about this, I was telling people that this digital forensics itself, when you do this digital forensics, one of the key things you really need to understand, it's how you can create a balance between privacy and security. So when people complaining about privacy, I think it's something that they really need to understand that it's not something to worry about.
I understand what you're saying, but the concern here is in the non-digital world, in an investigation, there is a lot. There is subject or potential subject to violation of human rights and privacy. I'm not talking about the digital platform. I'm talking about a normal criminal investigation where evidence is tangible. Evidence is tangible. It's there. There are so many challenges of corruption and so forth. Now, on a digital platform where things are not even seen, it's intangible. Do you really see things going ethically there, whereas in the physical world things are questionable? That's the concern. That's what
it goes back to capacity building. When I did digital forensics as one of my modules when I was doing my bachelor. So basically, what happened is that we do have professional conduct of this digital forensics. How do you do investigation? From the beginning to collect of these evidences to the ending part where you create the report. So all these kind of things, we have something we call a professional way of doing these kind of things. So if some individuals is aware of a professional way of doing it, they may not really go against other people's privacy. And as we agreed upon last time when we were having a similar interview in Swahili, we said that our people need to understand that one of the things that we really care about is privacy, one. But two, they should understand that criminals, they don't really have this professional conduct of doing this kind of things. So they get into their system without their knowledge. They steal their information, they do this and that. And laws there is there to provide this protection. And when this is happening, people should ask themselves one little question, that how do you care about someone who's trying to protect you and saying this one can jeopardize your privacy? And you keep forgetting that criminals who do the same thing, get into other people's systems and this and that, without your knowledge and all these kind of things, you don't really care about privacy from that perspective. So you should understand that we have to draw a very clear line between privacy and security. And of course, while protecting other people, going through this investigation, some people may have that individual behavior that they don't really follow this professional conduct of doing this kind of investigation. So that's a different case that we do have in different angles. Every country that we have these people who are not really following this professional way of doing their job. And this is something that we really we are not really thinking that we have to look at it and try to tell people that this is something that's going to destabilize the equilibrium of their privacy, jeopardize their privacy in a big area. I think we should be aware of that.
Talking about awareness, other concerns is that the Act holds a person guilty of merely receiving unauthorized information or computer data with or without intention of accessing the same. Basically, if you have data that is deemed criminal, is deemed criminal by the Act, and you're not aware of it. I mean, usually crimes must have motive, or you want to do something malicious. But by merely having, say, pornography or other images or information that is deemed criminal by this Act, then you are subject to prosecution.
No, I think that's where people they misunderstood this thing. First of all, if you receive a content, you cannot be prosecuted. What really happened there is that if you request for a certain malicious code to do harm to others, or you do request a certain thing that is not really allowed in a country for your own use, that's another thing, and that's where you can be brought to court. But if you didn't request that, someone sent it to you, nothing wrong with it. This is one. But two, you may receive it. You request it, and someone sent it to you, let's say pornographic pictures. But it's between two people that you agreed upon. You're not going to complain about it. That's another thing. You cannot, no one can bring you to court. But if, for example, someone sends you a certain content, and you complain about it, that someone is sending me these things that I don't really like and they're not really friendly. That's where the problem starts. And that's why we were talking, I think last week, we were talking on the same subject here with Radio 1. My colleagues explained this very clearly, that all these things happens when someone reports it. No one will come and start looking at what you have on your private thing, unless you put that publicly so everyone sees it online. You see? So someone will see that and report you, and that's when the case begins. But if no one reports about what you're doing, it cannot be an offense. And no one will hold you to court. This is one. So speaking of the same subject, people misunderstood this whole thing of receiving and sending, and they generalize it, and that's why they said probably this is targeting this election. People will start sending others hate speech and this and that, and others will be, a lot of people will be sent to jail. I don't think that's really what is happening. They just misunderstand the whole thing. No one can receive a certain content and end up in jail. No one can do that anywhere in the world.
Talking about the elections, now, I'm sure you've been following campaigns and so forth. There has been some concern regarding, use of abusive language and violation of human integrity in going to the extreme. And this is on the physical world. On the digital world, now how do you address that?
Because people use social media, using their mobile phone to send, using WhatsApp and the rest. They do send this kind of things, spreading this hate speech and that and this.
It's even worse in the digital space.
Of course. And that's why we've been telling people to be extra careful. Because once someone, you may do that publicly, so even a police officer, any people, they can see that. Then they can come and catch you. This is one. But two, you may decide to use, for example, messages, WhatsApp, and all this kind of thing. Someone may report you. You'll be caught. So people, they need to be careful. And of course, what we are encouraging people to make use of this, social medias and the rest of this digital platform for their own benefits and not to harm other people, or to destabilize national security, for example. The reason behind it, we do have several examples from across Africa itself. We do have example from Libya, Egypt, we do have Tunis, we do have example from Turkey as well, Iran, and other countries. You know, when you misuse these social medias, or you start spreading this hate, you feel like it's a small thing, you start telling people, it goes viral on this digital platform. And once it goes viral, you may destabilize the entire equilibrium of the nation. I'm talking about security here. And you may end up having a lot of fight just because of the simple thing that you spread over the internet. So that's why we consider this as a very serious thing, and people need to understand that we have one very good word. We say, think before you ink. Before you ink, you need to think first. So we need we need people to understand these kind of things. Need to make sure that they're aware that what they're doing is quite not really right. If the content they're having may have a certain content that may destabilize the equilibrium of the nation, they need to be aware of that. And then we go back to awareness, where we need to tell people what's these and 1, 2, 3. When they're doing them, they may be wrong, and they need to stop that.
Now, the legal review agrees there is a need for cybersecurity, but not at the expense of individual privacy, integrity, and right to due process of the law. Yes, we need cybersecurity. There is a concern, but violation of human rights should not be at the expense of security measures in place to address cybercrime. How do you strike this balance?
Of course, as I said, we believe in one thing. We need to draw a very clear line between cybersecurity and people's privacy. When I talk privacy, I think you go to human rights and everything. You know, when you protect others, I'll give you one good example of this clear understanding. You know, you're talking about privacy. Well, but some people, they may having a certain weird communication. This communication, they may lead to destabilizing this equilibrium of the country, or they may threaten national security. Now here, you need to forget about the privacy and try to understand what is going on. Any country does that. Every country does that. So you need to look at it, try to analyze those content. If you're satisfied, there is nothing wrong with the content, then you can proceed. But this is all about, you're doing that in order to protect the nation. But again, if people are communicating, for example, hi, how are you, I miss you, this and that, this is something that we need you don't need to really pay attention to those kind of things. You understand my point? So I don't know when people talked about privacy, this human right and all, I don't know what do they refer exactly. Because we do have this clear line between privacy and security. And cybersecurity experts should believe in DPD, Data Privacy Day, every 28th of January. That we do really care about people's privacy. It's our major concern. While doing investigation, one of the things that we need to consider is people's privacy. That's why we do have key search words. You need to know the target before you start investigation. What do you want to achieve? what is it that you're looking for? Set your keywords, search words and everything. Go through search warrant, digital search. You need to have, when you do digital search, you need to have search warrant. I mean, a lot of things are behind that protect people's privacy, protect people's, this human rights that we're talking about.
I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. We've just run out of time. I'd like to thank my guest, who's an expert on cybersecurity and digital forensic, Yusuph Kileo. Join me same time, same place for more of The Agenda. Thank you very much.